Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Let's Netflix and Chill podcast. I'm your host, Reese Jansen, and today we are looking at the beautiful documentary, but I might personally say it's called The Return to Space, where it deeply dives down into NASA astronauts really returning to space after being grounded for nearly 9 years. The last time NASA astronaut went to space from American soil, really, it was 2011. They had been going to space by traveling to Russia or China and boarding their spaceship shuttles and going to the International Space Station or dropping off satellites. Either way, any sort of space travel was sort of grounded in America due to significant costs and a lot of debts that were happening with spacecraft blowing up and stuff. And this happened during the Obama administration. So if people are pointing fingers, I don't think you should. You should realize that it costs billions of dollars. I just understood that only 330 astronauts have been sent to space. That I'm assuming that it also includes the ones that blew up and the ones that didn't survive. And that cost around, since the beginning or the dawn of space exploration by the American government or the American agency or NASA agency or company per se, they've spent over 350 billion, basically running up to $1 billion spent on a single astronaut. Enter Elon Musk and his SpaceX company or program that his vision is to take people to Mars and build a base on the moon, closer to Mars in a way, out of space, build a space on the moon and take people to Mars. And his first mission, really, after selling his company, PayPal, to eBay for $1.3 billion, he invested a lot of money in SpaceX, his dream, which would have been to take people to Mars. Now, first and foremost, when you look at this, like, if you're taking people, how are you making money? But ideally, it's to win a contract with the US government and be commissioned to make these space rockets to fly astronauts and all these other things like space satellites, stuff like that, television satellites that he's been using and that's been greatly serving the world. So he spent a lot of money. The documentary dives into that, how he spent a lot of money trying to create SpaceX from the ground up and try to revolutionize space commercial flight. So this is a really touching documentary. When you look at it, by assumption, when you look at the cover or the thumbnail, you're assuming it's all about Elon Musk and his brilliance, but it's really not about his. You can see his passion, you can sense his passion throughout the whole documentary, but you can see the people that he works with, people that he manages, and you can see them, the commitment it took this man, the passion that Elon Musk has, where all the Falcon 1, when he was trying to perfect the reusable rockets, how he was using his last drop of money. Man had 3.1 billion and he used over hundreds of million US dollars to build these rockets, and they kept blowing up. 3 of them blew up, and eventually one managed to do a safe and proper landing. After years of experimentation and work, he managed to do the recyclable rocket thing, and it's working for him especially and exceptionally well, and it's looking good for him and the company. And of course, in this documentary, they talk about sending astronauts back to space from American soil. Not saying that astronauts were not sent who are American from the Earth as a whole. They had to travel all the way to Russia or China with some sort of joint commissioned stuff where America had to pay a whole sum of $83 million per astronaut for them to hitch a ride. Like, wow, that's an expensive flight. 83 million for a flight. I guess it's the return journey as well. But remember, when you're returning, you're not actually flying down, you're actually being shot from space. So, not shot, you're basically hurtling from space into the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, wherever you're landing precisely. Anyway, it's quite exhilarating to watch. Watch these astronauts in zero gravity having a ball with liquids and stuff. It's an interesting documentary. So the space shuttle program by the American embassy or the American government was shut down in 2011. And Elon Musk, together with these 2 brave astronauts, in my personal opinion, apparently these guys had been to space on 2 other separate occasions, and one of them was actually the last man to fly the space shuttle that went to space, the International Space Station in 2011. He retired the last Dragon, the NASA space shuttle, and he sort of was back over 9 years of hiatus from flying. I'm sure he didn't even think he would ever get to fly again. But this time, my man Doug and Bob were the 2 astronauts that were taken or chosen to do this this demonstration, rather, of the flying the Dragon Falcon SpaceX shuttle. If I'm saying that name correctly, I'm not sure. If they kept calling it the Dragon SpaceX. So, but all I know is almost every space shuttle or rocket that's designed by SpaceX is called the Falcon something, the Falcon 9, the Falcon 1. So I'm assuming just Falcon. And I apologize for those that are, more factual than I am. Anyway, so with this whole thing, these 2 guys, my man Bob and Doug, wow, such extraordinary people. Like, Bob and Doug are married to scientists as well, who happen to be astronauts, who have happened to have been to space themselves. What a power couple, what a relationship. It's just amazing. There's such certain people that, can commit themselves to going out on space and live over 6 to 3 months in space and zero gravity, 6 months away from your family and stuff like that, in order to advance human development, in order to advance human beings as a planetary species. That's what Elon Musk's vision is, to get us to Mars. Now, obviously, I don't have the wits or the smarts, no experts, to even register or get myself a qualification to get myself to Mars. I don't have all that. But for what I know for a fact, that it's a great achievement. That the fact that Elon Musk wants to build a base in the moon when America hasn't been to the moon since 1970. That's, wow, long time ago. Of course they retired this whole moon thing because no one cared. You kept going every year and people kept dying every year. And it's not literally making money in any possible way. But with Elon's vision, with these reusable rockets, and the fact that another one happened where they were going to space. I don't remember the details. Another group of astronauts, 4 of them per se. Maybe I should have looked that up before I presented this. Dull of me. Anyway, these other guys go again. And the greatest part is they're using the shuttle and the rocket that was used by Doug and Bob to fly to the International Space Station, which means they've saved a tremendous amount of money because of Elon Musk and his group of engineers and scientists. Brilliant work at SpaceX, which means they can reuse rockets, reuse shuttles. It's quite astonishing that, it's edging closer to getting these Star Wars, spaceships where they can, just leap off the ground and all the way to orbit and do this FTL thing where they just disappear in the blink of an eye. And it's wow. That's the next stage for me. When you're watching these things, you're like, wow, that's the next stage. If we're going to use rockets over and over, next thing we're going to build these bizarre, sphere-shaped like rockets or shuttles, or spaceships rather, that we see in movies like Star Trek, Star Wars, and all these amazing films that always come out from Hollywood and all these other film industries, whether it's Korean stuff. They've been making great movies. I've mentioned, if you listen to this podcast, you know how much I champion the Koreans, and they've done these great films about space exploration as well. But that's not the point. The point is, Elon Musk plans to take people by 2030 to Mars. With this whole thing, it could be around the corner. They've now taken people to space. Congratulations. Now, the next step for me, after watching this document without reading any documentation or anything, is to set up that base on the moon. Now, in order to set up a base, that means we need more people on the moon. So we need to build some sort of colony of engineers that are going to build this base there. And I'm assuming we'll have some sort of fuel there where space shuttles will have to rendezvous to the moon and then to Mars. where they'll be slingshotted in some sort of way there. So that's the beauty of this whole thing. And ideally, this documentary is truly one of a kind. And I can say this with wow, just wow. The passion of this man, just wow. Documentary is well put together by two of some of the greatest directors. You know, it's got footage from on an unrelated thing. Elon didn't have hair, fam. I think he did some sort of hair implant. His hair is lush and beautiful now. But if you see his hair back in the early days of SpaceX and back in the days of PayPal, he's going bald. So he had some sort of Wayne Rooney transformation where he had some sort of hair implant, and grew his hair back, and he's looking lush and beautiful. So that's the beauty of it. It's unrelated to science, but I just thought I should mention it out there for you guys to hear. Anyway, this documentary is truly one of a kind. You know, I'm a fan. You know, I'm a fan of guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye the Science Guy. These guys that, you know, they're more about sciencey stuff, you know, astrophysics and stuff. Like, I would have wanted to study these things, but I didn't have the, you know, the IQ or the smarts to pull this through. I'm not really particularly good at maths or science, but I'm infatuated. I'm in love with space and these whole things. I don't know if it's because of watching all these Star Wars, Star Trek films, and, you know, in love with this whole idea of going to space and the cosmos and all that. But with this Elon Musk taking people to Mars, it brings it closer. Maybe I'll go there. Maybe I'll be a rich guy and I'll do the, you know how these rich billionaires are doing it. Like Jeff Bezos has got this program where he plans to commercialize space travel by putting people out on space for a fee. So I just have to make enough money to get there, and, you know, pay a few bucks, and hopefully one day just get to space, see it up close for myself. And with space exploration coming to realization, it's in the grasp, or it's in our reach to grab it and be like, wow, we'll be multi-planetary species very soon. All thanks to Elon Musk. Elon Musk recently purchased Twitter, by the way. Apparently 9% of it. So, wow. The guy's making revolutionary things. And remember that a lot of astronauts, while they're in the space station, use a lot of Twitter to reach to the masses. So, yeah. It's pretty cool. Wow. What a documentary, man. 5 out of 5 from me. 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100. Quite exhilarating. I have a problem with it. I wish they would have made it a mini series of some sort. Like, dive into more detail. You know? But of course, they made it in such a way that even if you're not a science nerd, you could enjoy the documentary. If they went too technical and started explaining every component and this and that, naming rockets, naming this and that, it might have gotten boring for some people. But for me, I would have enjoyed it. But of course, I wouldn't probably be able to recite a few things. But if I can watch Star Wars and Star Trek and start reciting all the great terminology they use, I'm sure after watching more realistic things to my timeline, I could recite a few things with more understanding, and I could read a few articles and find out more about this whole thing. So, overall, great documentary. I am no expert. I just look at the stars and the moons, man, and I'm like, wow. So, if you are a science guy, a science nerd, and this is your cup of tea, this is a documentary for you, you should definitely check it out. I hope I did it justice by explaining my thoughts and views on this. So, for me, it's a must-watch for anyone, really. Whether you are into science, if you are remotely interested in films like Star Wars or Star Trek, The Mandalorian, shows like that, I think this should be the show for you. You will not be disappointed. And if you're a fan of Elon Musk like myself, I really like this guy. I've never spoken to him personally or even had a brief conversation on Twitter with him, but overall, besides being a goofy Dogecoin fella and Tesla owner, speaking of Tesla, wow, Elon, you smart man. Elon's got some sort of deal, I don't know what it is, where Tesla, his automobile battery powered electric cars, are the ones that are driving or cruising these pilots that are about to fly to space to the shuttle from the base in the Tesla. With those suicide doors and everything's looking beautiful. It's quite genius that he's managed to fuse his Tesla business somehow into the NASA program, to the NASA SpaceX program or partnership in a way. He's throwing in Tesla saying, my cars will deliver these astronauts. They look sexy with those suicidal. They almost look spacey. So that got me thinking, what if Elon designed some sort of, these Mars rovers, these moon cars they always design. What if he designed some sort of vehicle, which is a Tesla, for the moon or Mars? Wow. He'd be the first. That's amazing. Oh, Elon Musk is a genius, man. Man's a genius. Really genius. Apparently he has 2 bachelor degrees or majors in science and physics and 1 in economics and business, yada yada, stuff like that. So he's not actually a complete dodo head. So in all honesty, put some respect on Elon Musk's name. Put some respect on SpaceX. Put some respect on Tesla. Put some respect on NASA. Soon, ladies and gentlemen, we will be amongst the stars. So, in the immortal words of Neil deGrasse Tyson, keep looking up.